Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and in this tutorial I want to start talking to you guys about grid layout. It's a very simple layout. It's a lot easier to understand than relative layout, so that's what we're going to be doing. And also, I probably should mention, I started a brand new project and I chose blank activity, so do that as well. I didn't think I needed to walk you guys through it since, I don't know, I already did like 3 times. But anyways, brand new project, blank activity, choose any name that you want. And once it opens up, you should be looking at this screen right here. So the first thing I actually want to do is just get rid of this text view because I want to start from scratch. So delete that. Now, a grid layout is pretty much exactly like you would think. If you hover over it, it says a layout that places its children or allows you to arrange widgets in a grid. Now, of course, a grid, just like a spreadsheet or anything, is made up of rows and columns. So it's really easy to start placing everything out, and probably any app that you make, it's going to use at least one grid layout. At least all the apps that I made, I always use grid layout. So the first thing we obviously need to do is take this grid layout and drag it on your screen and just put it in the top left right now. Looks good. Now another thing I want to do before you start adding any widgets to this layout is this. I only want this layout to fit to the size of whatever contents it has. So right now it's taking up our entire screen. So in order to pretty much just adapt to the size of whatever is inside it, what you can do is you can actually just go up to these buttons right here, and this one says set layout width to wrap content. So click that, and the vertical arrows sets the layout height to wrap content. So click each of those, and now your layout's height and width is pretty much 0, 0. So this way it's going to wrap to whatever stuff we put inside it, aka widgets. So let's add a couple buttons to it right now. So actually, if you go down to button right here and drag it over that dot, you're going to see row 0, column 0, and drop it in. So essentially every widget you add is going to have coordinates of a row and a column. Left and right's rows, top and down is column. So again, since we only have one thing in here, this is at coordinates 0, 0. So actually what I'm going to do is, if I have this button selected, go down to text and rename the text on this button to center and hit enter. So we'll say that, I don't know, maybe we're going to make a layout with 3 columns and 2 rows, and we want this button to be the center one. Well, let's go ahead and add another button to the right of this. So I'm going to go ahead, click on button again, and start dragging it, and as you can see, I can't place it here because there's already something here. I could place it to the left, and it says insert before column 0. What I want to do is place it to the right, and it says insert row 0, which is the first row, after column 0. So whenever I do that, it places it to the right, and therefore I'm going to name this one right. Hit enter and do the same thing with left real quick. Drag this button and place it before column 0. So again, before you place it in, it gives you a little like hint of where you're going to drop it. I'm just going to name this one left and hit enter. So the first thing you probably noticed is that, okay, whenever I added a widget, I get these green bars right here. And these green bars, they actually just represent the entire row or the entire column. So if you do something like this, take another button and drag it under the left. So it says after row 0, column 0, which pretty much means the first column in the second row. Then what you can do is, let me rename this to bottom and hit enter and check it out. So again, you can actually select these green bars, and it's the same as selecting the entire row. So I can take this one right here, grab it with my mouse and drag it above row 1, and they switch places. So again, that's what that does. And another cool thing that you can do is if you ever want to delete an entire row, what you can do is you can right click this and choose delete, and it deletes that entire row. So that's a cool little tip that's going to save you some time, but I didn't want to delete that, so I'm just going to hold down Control Z on my keyboard and I got it back. So this is pretty cool right now, but one other thing that I want to do is show you guys how to take one of these widgets and have it span multiple cells. So say that I actually wanted this right button to take up this cell and the cell below it. So what I can do is actually select that right button, and if I scroll all the way up in the properties, then I'm gonna see some properties at the very top that say column span and row span. Now again, whenever you want to span something down, you need to span it across multiple rows. See what I'm saying? So for the row span, when I have that button selected, if I add something like 2 in here, watch what happens to these blue grid lines. Hit enter. So now this one cell is taking up 2 rows. So this row span is pretty much asking how many rows do you want to take up? Well, 2, good enough. Now we can actually do this with this bottom button. Say that we wanted this cell to take up 2 columns. So we go to column span and add 2 right here. So now we have one cell that's the width of 2 columns, but the problem that you guys already see is these widgets or these buttons, they don't just automatically expand to take up the contents of the cell. So how do we do that? Well, anytime you want to adjust the positioning or size of a button or a widget, you actually need to use the gravity property. Now, select your widget and go down to Layout Gravity and expand this. So the first thing that we can do is if we want to take this button and center it in the middle of these cells, or the cell, I guess it's more technically is we can go to Layout Gravity, Center, Vertical. So that's going to take whatever contents are in it and center it vertically. Pretty sweet. But now if you're like, okay, that's nice, but I actually wanted to have that button fill the entire contents of the cell. Well, we can do that as well. Again, in your gravity property right here, if you go down, I guess you didn't need to go down, but if you go to fill vertical, then watch what happens whenever I click this. It expands vertically to fit or fill the entire contents of the cell. Now another cool thing that I should probably mention is whenever you fill this button to pretty much fill the vertical area, you actually don't need to center it anymore, so you can go to center and unset that. So centering a widget is only useful whenever the widget doesn't take up the entire area. Right now it would just be a waste. So again, fill vertical is going to fill the entire area vertically, and we can actually do the same thing for this. So right now this button is only taking up half the area. If we ever want to fill it to fit the entire area horizontally, you guys can probably guess what's going to happen. Fill horizontal. So there you go. So that's the real basics, can't talk today, of a grid layout. Again, you can adjust things or align them in rows and columns, and this is how you span across multiple cells and also take any widget and fill it to fit however many cells that you want. So for now, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and for your challenge or your homework, this is what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to design the coolest layout using a grid layout, take a screenshot of it and post it on my forum. So even if it's not that great, then just go ahead and take a screenshot of it and post it on my forum. And well, once you completed that challenge, you are ready to move on to the next video. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.